All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Aditi, and I am a behavior therapist. I have been working in the field of autism and behavior science for a little more than 4 years now. Currently, I am based in New Zealand and working in the same field. I am here today to talk about the topic, which I think is a very common concern among parents, and as professionals, my fellow behavior therapists would also agree. So it's managing behaviors and skill building for individuals on the spectrum. So before starting off, I would like to convey a few points to remember through this webinar. So the first one is that this webinar is purely based on my experiences and learnings through the 4 years in this field. And I'm learning every day and trying and refining my practices to stay true to my practice and values. So traditional AB approaches are moving towards more contemporary approaches, and we will also be discussing that. The second thing that I want you all to keep in mind is please note your questions and we can discuss it towards the end. And the third one is please note if you have seen one child with autism, you have just seen one child with autism. Every child on the spectrum is different. And there is no set rules that if two children are autistic, they should be showing a similar pattern or behavior or symptoms. All right. With keeping that all in mind, I will be starting off the webinar. Give me just a few minutes. I hope you all are able to view the presentation that I'm sharing. So without wasting any more time, let's quickly start. So starting off, what is a behavior? So we usually come across this term mostly every day in our lives, right? So what is behavior? So behavior is nothing but what people do and their actions. Basically, it's the interaction with our environment, right? So for example, I say that I'm feeling hungry. Hungry is not a behavior. But when I say I'm hungry and I'm eating chips, so eating over here is a behavior, right? For example, when I say I'm feeling hot, I bought a cooler. So buying here is the behavior that we're talking about. So it's very important to understand what exactly is a behavior, right? It is nothing but our interaction with the environment. So now, talking about the second thing on the screen, that is behavior, misbehavior. So it's a very common thing that whenever we come across a term called behavior, we usually associate it in a negative way. Most of the times, a human brain tends to think it always in a negative way. So people often, like when they hear the word behavior, they associate it in, in a demeaning manner or maybe in an inappropriate manner. That's what they think about. So we have to always keep in mind that behavior is not always negative. It can also be positive. It is also a positive thing, right? So coming to the next topic, that is label versus behavior. Now, what is a label and what is a behavior? So while going through the whole behavior analysis, I came to understand that most of the times what parents come up with is a label and it's not a behavior. So let's quickly understand what is the difference. So adjectives or nouns used to describe a child's action is a label, and that is not a behavior. But when you're actually using a verb to describe something, an action, that is a behavior. So labels are nothing but adjectives or nouns. So for example, if I say that a child is hyperactive, that is not a behavior, that is a label. But when I say that my child is screaming, my child is talking, my child is yelling, that is what a behavior is. My child is eating. So we need to clearly understand the difference between a label and a behavior. All right. So remember, label is nothing but an adjective and a noun, and behaviors are more of verbs, right? Actions. So let's quickly move on to the next slide, which says behavior in a traditional approach to ABA serves two major types of functions. That is, function is nothing but a reason, right? So now gradually ABA is shifting. So we have a traditional approach and we also have a contemporary approach. We will soon be talking about that as well. So when we talk about the traditional approach to ABA and the functions, so basically it serves two major types of functions. That is to obtain something desirable or to avoid something undesirable, right? However, more contemporary approaches suggest that it is usually a combination of reasons that lead to challenging behavior. It's not just a particular function, right? So it is mostly combination of functions that lead to a problem behavior. It is usually not just one. So in the traditional approaches, we see that in order to obtain something or desirable or to avoid something undesirable, individuals engage in problematic behavior or inappropriate, challenging behaviors. So the intensity and frequency of these behaviors might go extreme if we do not provide an appropriate intervention at the correct time. All right. So the intervention is very important. So to understand it in depth, let's see like what is the intensity and what is the frequency. So if a proper intervention is not provided to a behavior at that point of time, the next time it might again happen, right? And we might be clueless like how to intervene this time, and then it might go out of control or it might go out of hand and becomes extreme. That's when parents get concerned and come and say that, this is a challenge and I'm not able to manage this. I'm not able to understand how to proceed with this. All right. So providing proper intervention at the correct time is very important. So for example, you are outside with your child at the playground and there is a long line for the swing. Your child throws a tantrum and cannot wait. So you ask other children in line and get him an early turn to avoid escalation, right? So the next time you go to the playground, your child automatically knows that even if there's a big line, I know that my mom will go ahead, ask others for a turn for me. Otherwise, I will be throwing tantrums, right? So it's always learned. So that's why providing proper intervention at a proper time is very important. Now, as parents and professionals in the field, it is important to analyze the mixed functions. So coming to a little bit of a contemporary side of ABA, where they say that it's not just one function, it's a mixed function. So let's first understand what are these functions, what are these reasons why these behaviors are coming up. So the four major functions that we know, and I am mostly sure that you might also be aware of because the amount of research parents do. So attention, escape, sensory, and access, right? These are the four basic functions that we know of. And once determined, we can understand how to proceed with it, the reason. All right. So the traditional AB approaches it as different set of functions. Like a behavior can only happen because of attention, or a behavior can only happen because of the child wants to escape something, and the behavior can only happen because the child has some sensory needs, or the behavior can only happen because they want something to play with or indulge in any activity. But the contemporary ABA suggests that it's not just one function, it's a mixed function. All right. So, as professionals in the field, as parents, we have to evolve. And ABA being an interpretative science, we can interpret it and always thrive and understand more better things to do for our child. Right. So, yes, that's how it is going now for the contemporary ABA. So once you determine the function, what you do is our purpose should not just be the elimination of a problem behavior. So if we see a child screaming, I just want the child to stop screaming. It shouldn't be like that. It should always be replacing it with a much more desirable behavior. So if you see a child screaming and you say, stop screaming, the child doesn't know what is what should I do other than that? So in the same time, you have to teach the child a replacement behavior, right? What is the child supposed to do? So over there, always remember, whenever you are doing all this, a basic key ingredient to all this is compassion. So never leave that, and always understand that if the child is trying to tell you something, is showing a problematic behavior, it is always because they are trying to tell you something. It is all because of communication, right? We are free to communicate because we have words and we can express ourselves. But there are few of our friends who are unable to express themselves through the words. So we need to have compassion enough to understand that we need to be patient to understand what they're going through. All right. So always remember that compassion is the ingredient. So yes, so we are understanding that we do not have to eliminate the behavior, we have to replace the behavior, all right, with a much more desirable behavior. And always remember, it should always serve the same function. So for example, every time a child wants a particular toy, they scream and yell. Here we replace the inappropriate behavior with asking appropriately for the toy. So the reason remains the same. The child wants the toy. So instead of screaming or yelling, we are teaching a much more desirable behavior of asking nicely, right? Giving proper words to the child that you can ask this way instead of indulging in a problematic behavior. All right. So that is it. Let's move on. So yes, so once we identify what are the mixed functions or maybe one particular function of a behavior that is coming up, what are the interventions that we give? So for escape avoidance is nothing but um, you dislike a particular task and you don't want to do it, right? So what are the things that you can do? So you can modify the demands. Modify the demands is nothing but reducing the amount, maybe, or maybe reducing the task difficulty, right? And teaching FCT. FCT is nothing but functional communication training. So giving the child words. Most of the times when they don't have the appropriate words, they want to tell you something, and that's when they engage in something which is not very appropriate, right? So quickly giving them words for it, right? Reinforce. So understand what is something that my child loves to be with, play around, do an activity, right? Reinforce as much as possible. Offer choices as in, if you want to do A, you can do A, otherwise you can do B. As much as autonomy is given to them, that's how easy it becomes to work with them. So if I dislike a particular chore, and I decide that I have A or B and I have a choice to make, I will definitely be feeling more empowered that I have choices, right? So, and increase predictability. Increase predictability is nothing but making sure what's going to come is known to them, right? So they know that, what is going to come next. Because most of the times, even I feel a little uncomfortable when I don't know what's going to happen next. So it's always good to give them predictability and make them understand what's going to happen next, right? So for attention seeking, you might have also seen many of our friends showing behaviors because they like attention, right? So remember, always provide regular positive attention, as in, when you see that a child is negatively engaging in a behavior, to get the attention of somebody, always redirect towards positive. Maybe they want you to look at them, so give them words. Mama, come play with me, or come sit with me, instead of engaging in jumping or yelling or screaming, right? So it is always advantageous to understand where it is coming from, right? And schedule social interactions. So if you want to make sure that you are not there all the time and you want to schedule it, you can always inform them that maybe half an hour after you complete this task, I'm going to come sit with you and we're going to play something, right? So schedule it. It is advantageous for you as well and for them as well. Next, reinforce positive behaviors to gain attention. So if you see that the child is, catch them being good. If you see them that instead of jumping over the sofa and throwing things here and there just to gain your attention, they are actually sitting and waiting for you. Reinforce it. Give a social praise. Make them feel special that they did something really good and they deserve to be rewarded, right? And the next one is access to tangibles or activities, right? So we all want something or the other every time, right? So same as our children. So if you provide them choices, like maybe not this time, maybe you can have it in the evening, right? Or maybe teach alternate requests, that maybe this is not possible right now, maybe I can give you something else right now to play with, right? And token systems is something that we use at the centers. If you want to implicate the same thing at home, you can. So always identify what are the reinforcers that you can build as tokens, right? Tokens. So every time a certain particular behavior is shown, you give a token, and after they get a certain amount of tokens, they get a reinforcement, right? They get to do something which they like, they get to eat something that they love, they get to spend time with somebody that they love, right? Always pair the tokens with a big reinforcement. And yeah, that is for that. And for sensory stimulation, always remember, I've seen many parents come to the center and talk that I don't want these behaviors to happen in the public. I don't like this. This makes me a little uncomfortable. So for all of those parents, I would like to say that this when you are scared, when you are terrified, or when you are nervous, we all have certain things that we do to regulate ourselves, right? Maybe when I am tensed, I tend to break the knuckles, right? When I am scared, I usually tend to shake my leg, right? When nobody comes to stop me for that, I do that, and after a while I feel regulated, right? These children are just trying to regulate them. Instead of stopping that, maybe give them a safe space to actually express themselves, it, right? So that they feel more regulated and calm instead of stopping it, because makes them, more cranky, because you're stopping them from regulates, right? So yes, so patient should schedule sensory breaks. So you schedule it. It's all up to you how you want to manage it, right? Every day, maybe schedule their timetable in their routine that yes, you can have these many things as a schedule. Be in a quiet corner, maybe a blanket, maybe have all these scents around them. Yes, maybe have the big headphones. So noise cancellation headphones are all the things that they look out for. So understand what is the need and where is it coming from. All right. And on quickly to the next. So next is environment. So modify the environment is nothing but environmental supports that you can provide to them, right? Give a routine and structure to them. So environmental supports and modifications is nothing but understanding our kids who are sensory seeking and understand who are sensory out. So for sensory seeking, what you can do, for example, blanket, fidget toys, a quiet corner can help in needs without engaging in this. Allow periodic breaks, right, to be taken. Structured sensory breaks can be brought out. Calming space, soft lightening music, soft lightening room, right? Noise cancelling head things that you can provide, where allow for physical activity, help release excess energy, right? Neither jump on a trampoline, can, do swinging, jumping, etc. Now for sensory avoidant, it is adjust the light around you, right? Sensory environment, but reducing bright lights, loud noises, strong smells that might be very overwhelming for them, right? Offer clothing or materials that is comfortable and not just makes them pick on it all the time. Nothing but reflecting on what we are doing. Providing a benefit for my child. Have I done this? Try to take a small note on it, whether you provided an intervention, you tried some many days, did it work, right? An intervention, you try it out for 5 days, you make a note of it, you see the change. That's happiness. Like as a behavior therapist, that's most pleasure when I see the the data being taken, right? The graph. So that's what gives a behavior therapist happiness, and also the parents to see that strategies. Support transition are very difficult for our friends. It is very difficult for them to have and accept a right? So inform them, increase the press, what helps them a lot. And your words very minimum. The more you talk, the confusion it creates for them. So very simple and very clear. Problem solving skills. So this is that many of our kids pick up without teaching. But as we grow older, problem solving skills have to be nurtured and sharp, which are much smaller than that comes in the right. So this can be a goal for the parents who have elder kids on the spectrum. Problem solving skills. Teach them how to solve their own problems when they face the world by themselves. All right. Let's quickly go to the next. Managing behaviors in autistic individuals requires a compassionate, individualized, and proactive approach. You just see one child with autism, how individualized it is supposed to be. So when you see your child, you make your child's goals. You see how sensory seeking or sensory avoidant is my child. What are my child's needs, right? What are the behaviors my child shows? What are the interventions that I can provide to my child? It has to be very individualized. What are my child's strengths? What are the my child likes, right? It is not necessary that the other child likes something and my child has to like the same thing, right? It's very unrealistic to think. Understanding the underlying causes of behaviors. Always try to understand and reflect back from, right? And creating an environment that supports the person's needs. And let's quickly go here. So, quickly addressing today's ABA. Today's ABA focuses more on being compassionate, building trust with the child, right? Applied behavior analysis is about continually learning about the predilections. Predilections is nothing about liking for something. We all have likings for something, right? I like my safe corner. I like to sit and doodle, right? That is my predilection. So liking for something of the autistic person being served, so that preferred learning contexts. Preferred learning context, it's nothing but a set of conditions that help a person learn better. So for me, something that helps me learn better is nothing but sick. Maybe some of our friends might not lace. Maybe some of our friends might not like sick, right? So it focuses more on individual approach, more on giving value to what a person brings, right? So yes, and when you provide such to an autistic individual, how wonderfully they thrive and how wonderfully you can teach them skills that is looking towards, right? It can be developed and developing skills that can be appreciated as well. So there are 4 things that we need to keep in mind. I'll quickly touch all of them. Learn by this is so important because we as therapists or parents assume a sensory. We subconsciously think that we are leaders of their ship, right? We know, we forget to listen in that process. It is a very fine line when you are listening with your whole body, right? Individuals speak a lot without words. They might show you through their body language, their actions, maybe their head is down, right? Today they come into the with a very cranky mood, they're showing resistance. As a behavior therapist, I just have to finish off my work that has been assigned, but I have to understand where the person is with an individual, right? He should not be thinking that, okay, I know best what is for the child and I just go on barge in and start my work. That is not a good listening, right? If I have to be a good listener, I need to understand more than what they show me. I need to understand where all of this is coming from, right? So that is learn by listening. Second, learn by creating joy. Focus on shared experiences. Let them find their happy, relaxed, and engaged, one in which they feel safe and in control. Let them explore. It is often seen that when they are not playing appropriately what we think is appropriate of a toy, we tend to force our likings on them. We tend to say, okay, this is not the way you play with a toy, just change it, right? So let them explore, stop, retrospect, introspect. What are you doing? Right? So let them explore, play with the toys or activities how they want to play. Be sure to include all the things that they like, or they could not handle, or because because they because they could not handle their removal, or because they were engaging it in with it in a different way, and not in a conventional way, right? Do not restrict any of their freedom. Keep the door open, follow their lead. Let the autistic person bring other materials to this context, remove materials from this context, reposition objects. You just be there, be 100% available. That's creating joy, not making them follow your lead, instead following their lead, right? And be sure to create clear signals of your submission, remove all signs of dominance. I know this is easier said than done, because most of the times, even if we go in to play thinking I'm not going to speak anything, we tend to give our 2 cents, right? Which we shouldn't be. We should be trying to just add on. We should be just trying to add on to their enriched experience, right? So be 100% available to them. And the third one, learn by creating joy, right? Second one, learn by creating joy. Respond to all attempts to communicate. And this will happen the sooner you're trying to lead the situation. And do not let any behavior towards you be ignored. React to their behavior in normal ways, right? And quickly going on to the third one, learn by empowering. Establish trust. Trust is the most important thing that you can establish with an autistic individual when you are working with them. Inform normally that we are going to stop and move to a high expectation zone, right? Work would be introduced, make sure materials are ready, things are in place. You see that the autistic individual is showing distress and to come along, respect that. Take a step backwards. Show them that if they say that they do not want to do something, you respect. You don't try to impose, time's up. I have to finish my work for today. Come on. That's not listen. Neurodivergent. When we see a child, you promise them that you're going to give them ice cream. Why do you think the child believes in you? It's not because you are an elder, it's just because they trust you. We take that so granted that we don't understand the depth of it, how important it is to an individual on the spectrum, because it is I would say, the essence of it, where they know that okay, this person is there for me, this going to give me what I want, right? So learn by empowering. Our ultimate empower them, right? So make sure materials are in place. You see that the autistic individual is showing distress, you take a step back, right? Let the autistic to their happy, relaxed, and engaged. Let them know it's okay, it's all right. And yes, teach them that you see them, you hear them, and you understand them. And even more now, despite sometimes lack of precision or general acceptability of their communication. The last one, learn while teaching. Play, leisure skills. We usually don't focus too much on them because we have a lot of other goals to cover. We always have a lot on the list that I need to cover this with my child. In that process, you're on play skills, right? Be there with your traditional ABA focuses more on compliance. Compliance means you have to listen to me. This child has to sit here, has to focus, has to do things. The contemporary ABA focuses more on cooperation. Cooperation is nothing but the individuals of me has their own dignity, own value thinking, and they cooperate with me, their learning. That's how it's supposed to be. Getting the good for the child. It is me learning along with that individual, where they are also safely learning, being happy, relaxed, and engaged. So that's how it's supposed to be. That's where the maximum learning and skill building happens. All right. So the process involves gradually introducing ambiguity. Cooperation is the key. Cooperation is the key. There will be times where with us leading, they might learn. There will also be times with them leading, we might learn, right? No one learns when they are distressed. If your child is distressed, not happy, not relaxed, not engaged, there is no skill transfer happening. They're not learning anything. For them to learn things, we need to make sure that we create an environment that is conducive enough for them to learn. All right, let's quickly move on to the next. So these are some tips that say that I have come across and I usually do as best, adding along with my values, right? So identify of the behavior as a communication key, because they are not able to communicate to I show us behaviors with. So observe and analyze. A good therapist or a good parent, skilled parent would be serves, observes, and analyzes what is something happening. Create a structured environment, increase predictability, minimize changes, right? Provide clear and simple communication. Visual supports are very helpful, and keep the language short and simple, direct language. Implement sensory support, respect that, provide sensory supports, sensory sensitivities, acknowledge that, schedule breaks, address challenging behaviors with patience and consistency. Consistency is nothing but being on the same page. The whole family stays on the same page, along with the people on board, the therapists, the occupational therapists, the speech language therapists. Everybody are on the same page and are consistent with managing it. Avoid punishments. De-escalation techniques are, understand, go to your occupational therapist, understand the sensory needs of your child. What compressions does make my child feel good, right? What are the different muscle compressions that I can give for my child, right? Use positive reinforcements, reward desired behaviors, and focus on strengths. Everybody has strengths. You just need to look and self-regulate heavy emotions, right? Patience. Teach them how to develop coping strategies and social skills training. Involve the individual in decision making, because finally decisions empower their choices and offer alternatives. Is very important, what they are feeling or not, right? Social stories and role playing are one of the key aspects that help you make them learn uh, different social interactions through role play. And consistency across environments, just as I'm everybody on the same page. And self-care. So in between all this, never forget to give enough care to yourself. Take time, seek help, and approach therapy. Approach sure that you take that time out for yourself. That we are at the end of the conversation, our webinar. And if you have any questions, you can pin them down. I can address them. And all right, and if not, you can reach out later and we can have a conversation about the questions that you have. All right, thank you so much. I would like to thank Autism Connect for bringing me on board to be able to conduct such a beautiful webinar with all of you. I hope this was helpful. And yes, that's it.